Please remain seated.
Welcome to 40 Pints, where we drink like the booze is free. Today we are here with Dylan Malvey. He is our production manager, and he wanted to talk a little shop today. So we're going to start off with a little bit about you, Dylan. But before we do this, let's talk about the drink you chose.
Jack and Coke, baby.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm an aristocrat, so I'm very picky when it comes to my liquor. That's why, I had one opportunity to pick a drink for 40 pints, and it's like, you got to pick Jack Daniels because you got to show how classy you are.
Yes.
And, that's the goal, so.
There you go. Well,
That's why I
cheers
picked
to you and your classiness.
Thank you very much.
Just like I remember when I was 16.
Yeah. It takes all of the joy out of the Coca-Cola. That's how I would describe it.
And the whiskey.
And the whiskey, yeah. It's not good for either of them.
But some ways, it's kind of delicious.
Yeah. It's
Very
getting the job
mediocrely
done.
delicious. so Dylan, what was your first job, and what do you do now?
Oh, man. My first job, I was similar to a guest we recently had on, a dishwasher for a diner called Wedgwood. And it was a heck of a place.
Wedgwood. They really didn't think long and hard about that one.
No, it was one of those places that had been around for probably like 500 years or something. Like, it is finally gone, but it was just there forever. So, yeah, 2 years I washed dishes there, and it was an experience. It made me appreciate what it's like to have a job like that.
Yeah. I've said it before, but I've washed dishes too. It's very interesting. I still wash them. It's just in less than like 500 an hour type of mode. So,
Exactly. Yeah. You would know how like a Sunday morning would be when the bus pans are just like flying in and you're
egg deep and your hair's egg deep.
Exactly.
So what do you do now?
So now I'm the video production manager at Kraus, and essentially what we do is fulfill video needs for any company, and that ranges from like a commercial for TV to videos for people's web banners and social pages and so on and so forth. So, it's been awesome.
So I guarantee that there's some people that want to know, like, how do you get behind a video camera and start making money off of this and doing this as a career?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. The toughest part is getting behind the video camera and like learning the ins and outs. Like, it's good to start with photography and to really learn how like a camera works. Like, you want to learn your camera settings, learn about lighting, do research, go on YouTube, follow some creators, and really learn about the craft. And then after that, you want to invest in some gear, whether it's taking out some credit cards, or do whatever you have to do, but you have to look at that as an investment to make more money.
Do you think going to school is necessary?
I think it helps a lot. Like, I think it really, like, it depends on what you want to do, right? So, like, if you're like a solo content creator and your aspirations are, making social pieces and doing things that are more contemporary, then I would say no, you don't really need it. But if you're looking to work in film on crews, like, I would highly recommend going to film school because you're gonna learn all of that stuff essentially. Now the other option is you can just apply for the union right out of high school. So once you become a union applicant, then they'll start throwing you jobs, and you could be 18, 19 years old, and you'll be like building a reputation in the industry.
Interesting. So. We've had a mix of candidates here that have gone to school, that haven't gone to school for their profession. I'm actually a graphic design major, and I feel like if I didn't go to school for fine arts, I would never be able to do this. With that being said, I'm a CEO now, and I run a P&L, and I run a marketing agency and marketing strategy, which I never went to school for, which I also feel like I'm pretty good at. So I don't know, sometimes it's just time in the seat and just learning as you go versus paying and learning as you go. So sometimes you get paid for learning and sometimes you pay for learning. So I guess there's two different routes for sure, right?
Oh, 100%. And you pay a lot.
You pay a lot.
For film school?
Yeah.
Like, it's not cheap.
Yeah.
Like, especially nowadays.
It's a pretty competitive position to get, right?
It is, yeah. It's really competitive. Film school is like, it's tough to not get caught up in the competitiveness of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
To be like, have your friends also be your competitors who are also the people you work with and the people who get you jobs, and like your social life, your professional life, it all kind of mends together a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Once you have like this start and you understand what you're doing and you feel like you've developed the craft enough that you could almost sell it yourself, the next option is how do you start it, right? So Kraus, we were able to start a studios department a little bit quicker than probably most because we already had the demographic that worked for us. And we were able to get it going as far as the target audience that needed the product and service. But whether it's in-house or whether creation of it or you're just starting your own studio, I think both are very hard to do. So, so when, as an agency owner for about 12 or 13 years, when I wanted to start a studios department, because I felt that our video partners were excellent, but it was very hard to deliver value to my client utilizing a freelancer or a studio company, because what I found was getting in their schedule was tough, and then also controlling their quality was tough. A lot of times, depending on the client's budget, what I would get out of my partner wasn't what really they had desired or what maybe we even sold them. So bringing it in-house and quality control was really important to me. Googling it and trying to figure out how to start your own studios department was basically, obsolete. So,
Yeah.
So we started with, I'll tell you the mistake we made, and then we could kind of start with when we hired you, and probably one of the best steps we took to getting it really going was we literally took nice cameras and then we said, we'll just do what we saw the production company doing, and we'll go ahead and try to do it. And we made a couple mistakes, that's for sure, and we didn't have anyone really dedicated to the craft. So the quality didn't really improve. What I found as an agency owner was hiring someone with experience to help me get it going. Maybe you could kind of take it through, like when you got here, how we got it going, and what you saw was the biggest hurdles of really getting this started over the last 2 years.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the first thing I wanted to do, when I got hired is, look at the kind of clients that you guys had, the type of projects that were coming in, and like really look at what the clients that you had were interested in and like why they wanted video. And like, that's the most important thing. Like, why does somebody want video? Do they just want brand awareness? Do they want to drive sales? So the whole thing became, what kind of videos are they interested in? Your clients, and then how do we make those types of videos in an efficient way that makes the company money? So we started with what was at our disposal, and I think that's like a common theme you can come back to when you're starting your own company too, is if you're looking at a free weekend and you're like, I have nothing to shoot. Well, do you have a friend who owns a business? Do you have somebody who's an artist, somebody who's doing something based on passion? Anything.
Which is a lot of what we did here. When I hired you, I said, you're going to have some free time, so I want you to do as much content for Kraus as possible, right?
Exactly, yeah.
We had our own kind of content as well here.
Yep. And that's another thing.
Yep.
The internal stuff was huge.
Yep. And then what was next? So now we're building content. We're understanding what our audience wants, what our customer wants. Mm-hmm. What's the next step? What do you assess next?
Yeah, the next step was after, we kind of found out how to take care of the customers that we have, is how do we scale?
Yep.
What's working in the industry? What are some of the biggest companies doing? And kind of looking in the mirror and being like, who do we want to be? Like, what do we aspire to be, kind of thing.
Right. Yep.
And I think once we realized that, we want to strive towards the CTV market and the mainstream advertising like market, then it became about, let's start making projects that resemble the work that we want to make.
Yep.
And that's how you get in the door and you prove to these companies like, hey, we can make this,
There was some hurdles though in the way. And even with a company that had some funding behind it, and then also there's bootstrapping, which we kind of did bootstrap the department anyway, which was equipment, right? So how did you help to build all this equipment that we have? Now we have you know, I don't know, 300 or 400 square feet worth of, or more, yeah, of more worth of equipment. Thank you, Dylan. How did
Sorry.
how did we get from like one camera and a couple of lights to where we are now? And
Yeah.
how did you make the decisions?
Yeah, again, it's based on the work that we have, and you purchase based on need, right? So like we talked about this earlier, one of the things that companies often do is they'll buy all of this stuff that they don't really need,
Yeah.
like right now.
Yep.
And that's kind of how you want to purchase. Like, what do you need right now? So I started with lighting and sound, because like those are the two most overlooked things in video today, especially. And that's when you'll see somebody who, like, going to film school helps a lot with sound and lighting for sure.
Yeah.
And then once that was taken care of, then we worried about the camera. Everybody thinks I need a camera first. Like,
Right.
no, you can have a great camera and your footage can look like crap with bad lighting.
Right.
But if you have like an okay camera, but really good lighting, then it'll look a lot better than,
Yeah.
the nice camera with no lighting.
And I think so. I completely agree. And we did it with like $800 or $900 cameras, right? For probably the first year before we went and bought a red. And
Yeah.
but we also utilized used equipment from companies transitioning out of the studios, or going out of business, or just having too much product and looking to unload some gear for cash flow. There's a tremendous amount of gently used, and really just gently or barely used product out there for 50 cents on the dollar, which I think was huge for us.
Oh, big time. Yeah. Because you had a couple friends who, their production company was transitioning and they were getting rid of a bunch of stuff. Like, definitely look out for that, because we got hooked up
Yeah, for sure.
a lot of times. So, yeah. That was awesome. But it also goes back to you just got to buy based on the need, right now.
Yep. So, so I know, in my opinion, why everyone's starting to use video and why we got this big hockey stick curve of, and when I say hockey stick curve of video being used within digital marketing, why do you see all of a sudden video being so important to our customers and to customers in digital marketing in general, and customers doing advertising? Why video? Why now?
I love this question because it's the same reason as it's always been since like 1900. Since Thomas Edison started doing this right up the road in Fort Lee, by the way. I mean, that's a whole nother argument. There's this French guy who apparently invented it and he stole it and whatever. That's a whole nother thing. But I think it's just a combination of all of these visceral art forms, like your visual, your hearing. It's a combination of, painting and imagery and sound and acting, performance, kind of everything. It's in many ways the most human feeling like form of art.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's ever changed.
Yeah.
I think that's always been there. The main difference now is it's more accessible than ever.
Yeah.
So now anybody with, close to, a couple $100 can go out and buy a camera and tell a whole story.
Yeah.
That's like, if you do a good job, like, you could get like a movie deal from that,
It's interesting thought that they said that it started, in the early 20th century. And of course, photography was first and then videography was next. But if you think about like the modern like history of social media, where like Instagram was only photography to 5 or 6 years ago, maybe a little bit longer, but it was legit. Instagram was about photos, and now it's video, and video is what, I mean, it was a slow transition, but as soon as videos started getting on that platform, and TikTok was now a huge proponent of accelerating that growth of video. But it was almost interesting how you got the beginning of the 20th century and the beginning of the 21st century replicating themselves as far as, art going and how it's utilized from photography to videography. And I see it too, exactly as that, where you have companies that went from stock photography to actual custom photography, and that was a nice way to set yourself apart. And then you also now you have companies that have video consistently as part of their content, and then companies that don't, and it's a great way to separate yourself as well. And if you look at art forms in the beginning of the 20th century, photo versus video. I mean, everyone rushed to a theater back then to see, you know, what the new movie was. And I think when you're scrolling through a platform, you know, you might stop on a photo, but more often you stop on a video because you know you're going to get a story told and it's going to be a little bit more engaging for you. And that's what the numbers actually show is the engagement. It's through the roof with video compared to photography.
Right.
And definitely photography compared to content. But then when you take the difference between just like the written word, which was the original social media post, now to where it is today with video that's really engaging. I mean, the numbers and the data are significantly different. They're not different, and that costs. There is a cost associated with that. There's also a time cost. There's not like only a hard dollar cost. There's that soft dollar cost to it too, which is your time as well. But I think that's why people are investing in it a lot.
Oh, 100%. And even going back to text, like you can have text in your video. Like
Right.
you can have a video that's just text.
Yep.
And so it's so versatile that, you know, all of the biggest companies have been doing it for forever. But like I said, the biggest difference now is the accessibility. And now you don't have to be a Fortune 500 company with a $10 million commercial budget to have an ad.
Yeah.
Like now there's levels to it. Like there's different markets.
Right. I mean, well, you could have a $50 ad on Instagram, right?
Yeah.
So, but video, the nice thing about video now is you can use it across like everything that you do.
Yep.
So if you create content correctly, no matter what it is, it should be able to be used across different platforms.
Yeah.
But definitely video too. And I think that's where people struggle. They're like, what am I going to do? Spend $10,000 on creating a video for social media? No, you spend $10,000 on creating a bunch of content and a bunch of videos for your website, for social media, for your email campaigns. And if you really do it right, maybe even for CTV and OTT, you have all this content that's available for you. And then maybe you have unedited content for future use as well that you can trim out of there, that you could really create, you know, weeks and months and maybe even a year's worth of content from if planned properly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
100%.
So CTV, you know, and OTT is like is a new term. It's around digital marketing. It's a digital marketing term, but it's really the content that's served up on whether it's Hulu or YouTube.
Yeah.
And the ads served around it,
Yeah.
which could be as targeted as a Facebook ad or a LinkedIn ad. So I think that's one of the things that we've learned also video has been working well for. So when we're talking about ads though, we're talking about a 30-second cut. What type of ads have you been seeing that have been really resonating with people most? Like what type of genre of ad? Is there anything that you could note that you've seen?
Yeah, I mean, well, you've got Geico. Ever since Geico came out with the caveman ads, right? Like comedy's been in.
Yep.
You know, now insurance companies are the biggest spenders in advertising in terms of video commercials. So they've all kind of taken that onto that trend of the, you know, making people laugh.
Fun, funny, mascot, direction, memorable, in a quick way.
And now they've kind of beaten it to death. So now you have companies like, you know, New Jersey Mechanicals Insurance, and they're making fun of it. They're like, oh, not another mascot, please.
Yeah, no mascots. What is it? MNMJ, no mascot, no jingles.
That's right. Yeah, no mascot, no jingles. So that's a clever.
Yeah, that one actually caught me.
Yeah.
I heard it enough in my Pandora because I don't pay $4.99 a month for Pandora. I'm actually probably the last user of Pandora that doesn't.
I think
pay
you
for
might
it.
be. Yeah.
So, anyway, no mascots, no jingles. So when I think of like that fun and funny type of content, I think of it as a brand trying to be approachable.
For sure. Yeah.
And then there's like the thought leadership and the brand lift type of ads. What do you see? What type of things do you see going on around those?
A lot of voiceover based, montage styled advertisements where it shows not just one storyline, but many different short scenes from a few storylines. Yeah. So one example was Amazon released an ad where they were showing how streamlined their business is. Yep. So they wrote storylines for 3 different business owners, and you'd be amazed what you can fit into a minute and a half. I mean, this was easily, like we said, a 2-week shoot with 4 different storylines, 10 to 15 different characters for a 1.5-minute ad.
Yeah.
So that kind of stuff is really in, like ads, montage style edited,
Yep.
that have the sense of like our company's innovative, we're thinking ahead, we're thinking of the future, because messaging is also a massive part of it too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that deeper story and that the messaging in those are really important. Where you could be fun and have a jingle, and then it's really about, did it catch their ear, you know?
right.
And then if you're going to have something that you have to listen to, it has to be engaging. It has to be really thoughtful, yep, and mindful. And that message really needs to be clear. And that's all about the communication goal, and starting with like a proper creative brief of like, hey, what do we want to get across to this person, and what do they care about, and how can we do it in a way that they'll really resonate with.
Exactly. Like, who's the audience? That's the most important thing we always talk about. Is like the C-suite people, you know, the more executive types, they like to see the more serious ads that show how your company works so efficiently, how it's so innovative. And then if you're on a consumer-driven campaign, like, they just want to laugh. Like, either way, you're providing value, whether it's information or it's a laugh.
Yep.
You know, if you're just a regular person at home on their couch watching TV, like, you're not going to care about like how we are so efficient, and
Right. Yeah.
you want a laugh perhaps,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So like that'll get their
Yeah.
attention.
Well, it's true too, and I think that also depends on and decides around the content that you are suited around too, right? So
Yeah.
when you talk about sitting on the couch and you're watching Seinfeld, and then the commercial that lines up with it is like this thoughtful and deep one, like I think that what you do is immediately go into your phone, and you're like, you know, unless you're watching it on your phone, then you're just kind of screwed to listening to
Like
it.
Sarah McLachlan
Yeah,
coming up,
yeah,
and you're like, oh,
yeah.
please, not again.
Yeah, exactly. Compared to, you know, if you're watching something like in the morning, right, and maybe it's business related, and the content's more business related, then that type of mood and thoughtfulness is actually appreciated.
Yeah.
I definitely think that there's different content for different times, of course, for different audiences, but even for the same audience, different content and different feelings, or the same content and communication goals with different approaches
Exactly.
could be used.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it all comes back to like, that's why we're so serious about, you know, having meetings and everybody being in sync as far as like who's our client, who's their audience, what are their goals, who are we talking to, and what are we saying.
Yeah.
Like any video project, any commercial you should be able to summarize it in one sentence.
Right.
That's like the thing that when everybody pitches ideas, they're too like, you know, complicated about it. Like if you can summarize your idea in one sentence, and then all your little decisions all around that idea come back to it, it makes everything a lot easier to do.
Yeah. Love it. So, what was one of the favorite projects that you've worked on in the last year?
Oh, I mean, it was almost intentional, it felt. But the first video that I shot here, you guys sent me, like, you must have known I'm a car guy or something. But you sent me to, like, this guy's shop, and he does, like, anything from tunes to repairs, but only on, like, track builds, like race cars. And I walk in, I'm like a kid in a candy store.
Yeah.
The first thing I see is a Lancia Delta, yellow, mint. And this is like an extinct rally car, which I'm coincidentally into rally. So I just see it, and I take one look at it. I look back at the guy, and I'm just like, dude, congratulations. Like, and he was like, thanks. So that first one, it was a video for that shop, and he basically just tunes and fixes rich people's cars for their track hobby.
Yeah.
And man, that was a cool one.
Yeah. So that one was pretty cool.
That was up
so
there.
I've been jealous of many of the shoots you've been on, and been on very few shoots with you. One of the ones I was most jealous of is when you were shooting private jets,
That's a good one.
that people charter. I was like, oh, he gets to go on fucking $10 million jets today. I'm gonna go talk to someone about their data. I'm gonna go present a PowerPoint.
Oh yeah. Well, and dude, I grew up in a duplex. So for me to be in somewhere like that, like, you ever been somewhere and it just feels way too expensive for you? Like this,
all the time.
That's how I felt. No, that was sick. Like,
Yeah.
that was really cool. Like,
Yeah.
man, it must be cool to be able to fly like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good one. That was up there for sure.
Cool. Anything you're looking forward to this year?
Well, yeah, I mean, we have a big CTV contract going on, so we're going to be doing a lot of commercials this year. So we're really ramping up to that next level of production. So, excitement doesn't even begin to describe how I feel about the year coming up.
For sure. If there was one piece of equipment that you would have that you don't have yet, what would it be?
Oh man, that's so tough. Crane,
God.
big old crane, big motorized crane, just something that says
Like,
we're here to shoot a big ass movie. I just love those huge cranes that are motorized and,
are we like moving Earth or?
oh, we're sending a camera 100 feet up a building. Like,
I think we could rent one of those.
yeah, I love cranes and jibs. I don't know why. I just like mechanical things. That's my
Yeah.
favorite.
What's your biggest pet peeve?
Biggest pet peeve, I would say when you're filming a wedding and the photographer gets in your shot.
That's pretty funny. Don't
Not
worry.
you, Annalise. You're really good at that.
No one wanted to see themselves at a wedding anyway. They just want to enjoy it.
That's it.
Describe yourself in one word.
Simple.
Love it. That's amazing. I thought you could have had something else, but that was
No,
the
that's
word.
it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Air guitar or air drums?
Air drums.
Nice.
100%. While I'm driving, it's very dangerous.
If you had $1 million today, you had to spend it today, what would you do?
Oh, man. I'd invest it. No. I would spend it on a garage for maybe like 2 cars.
What would
And
those
then I
cars
would
be?
keep the rest for, ooh, that's a tough one. I would do like, I don't know. Damn. I didn't think you were going to ask me that.
Yeah.
I'd probably do one of the newer Corvettes. I like
Yeah.
those a lot. And then I would do a,
The C10, I think it is.
oh yeah, I would do one of those. And then I would do like a stupidly built out Subaru.
Of course you would.
Like I would just, yeah,
So you know
track
what I'm in
builds.
recently is those Mercedes GTs. They're like big, like fucking honking. Like the nose is like 80% of the car.
Oh, I
And
didn't
it's like
see
a little
those.
2-seater, like yeah, it's just a Mercedes. It's GT. It's
More than
sick.
half the
Yeah.
car is engine? I thought,
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sold.
Yeah,
I like it.
awesome. Well, Dylan, great chatting with you about the studios. I really appreciate everything you've done so far. Cheers to you.
I
and your-
appreciate you, Nick.
your
Thank you
shit-ass
for everything,
drink.
man.
Salute.
Salute.